You know what's wild? I used to sit at my desk at 3 a.m., staring at the sim dashboard, watching alerts stack up like laundry I was never going to fold. And I genuinely could not tell you if I was protecting the company or just surviving the shift. If you ever felt that way, keep watching, because this one might be the one that actually saves your career, or at least your sanity. So today we're going to talk about something in this industry that nobody really wants to talk about: SOC burnout. And I'm not talking about being a little tired. I mean the kind of burnout where you ask yourself constantly, why did I get in cybersecurity in the first place? You look at your badge in the morning and just feel nothing. And here's the thing. This is way more common than people let on. You go on LinkedIn and everyone's posting their promotions, their certifications, their W's, but nobody ever posts their 2 a.m. panic attacks. Nobody talks about that one analyst who cried in their car before they started a shift. Nobody's being real about it. So today, we're going to be real about it. And I'm Holding Down Jay. If you're new here, welcome. I work as a senior incident response specialist at a Fortune 100 company. When it comes to tech, I've been in the trenches. I know what it smells like when the SOC is on fire, literally and figuratively. And today, I'm pulling out the curtain in something that is quietly pushing the best talent out of this industry. Let's get into it. Let me talk about night shifts first, because I think this is the one that people underestimate the most when going into a SOC role. A lot of SOC environments run 24/7. That's just the nature of the beast. Threats don't take weekends off. Hackers do not care if it's Christmas Eve. So somebody has to be watching. And if you're a junior, if you're new, if you're at the bottom of the seniority ladder, guess who's getting the overnight shift? You are. Now, here's what nobody prepares you for. Working nights just doesn't mess with your sleep schedule. It messes with your entire life. Your social life starts to shrink because everybody you know is awake when you're asleep and asleep when you're awake. Your family starts to feel like roommates you occasionally pass in the hallway. You miss birthdays, miss dinners, you miss the kind of small, normal moments that actually make your life worth living. And the physical stuff, let's not gloss over that either. Your body has something that's called a circadian rhythm. Basically, your internal clock that tells you when to be awake and when to be asleep. When you work nights consistently, you are fighting that clock every single day. Studies have shown that chronic night shift workers have higher rates of depression, anxiety, cardiovascular issues, and even a weakened immune system. Your body was not designed to be alert at 3 a.m. and asleep at noon. And when you force it to do that for months or years on end, it starts to break down. I've talked to analysts who were so exhausted that they fell asleep mid-shift. And not because they were lazy, because the rotation was brutal, because there was no real recovery time built into the schedule, because the attitude from leadership was just, this is the job, just figure it out. And here's what really got me. When you're that tired, your judgment starts to slip. And in the SOC, your judgment is literally the product. Your job is to look at something suspicious and decide, is it real or is this just noise? Is this a phishing attempt or is this a user who just forgot their password? Is this lateral movement or is this normal admin traffic? Those requirements require a sharp mind. And when you're running on 3 hours of broken sleep, that sharpness is gone. You start second guessing yourself, you start missing things, and then you start feeling guilty about missing things. And that guilt piles up on top of exhaustion, and suddenly you're caught up in a cycle that's hard to break out of. So what do you actually do about it? First, if you have any say in your schedule, advocate for yourself. I know that sounds simple, but a lot of people don't do it because many people are afraid to advocate for themselves. I know that sounds simple, but a lot of people don't do it simply because they are afraid of looking weak or uncommitted. But there is nothing weak about saying, hey, this rotation is not sustainable, and here's why. Frame it around performance. Frame it around the quality of your work. Good leaders respond to that. Second, be ruthless about your sleep hygiene on your days off. That's what kills you. Pick a sleep schedule and try to stick to it as close as possible, even on your days off. Black curtains are not optional. They're a necessity. White noise machine. Phone on do not disturb. Treat your sleep like it's part of your job, because honestly it is. Third, nutrition and movement matter more on nights, any other shift. I know that vending machine at 2 a.m. is calling your name for some snacks. I know the pizza place that delivers at 4 a.m. feels like a lifeline. But what you put directly in your body affects how your brain functions. Lean into protein, stay hydrated, and find even 20 minutes to move your body before or after your shift. It sounds basic, but it actually works. Number 1, if you have the ability to influence your detection rules, do it. Flag the rules that are constantly generating the false positives. Bring it to your team lead with data. Don't just say these alerts are annoying. Say, this rule was fired 847 times last month and produced 0 true positives. Here's my recommendation to tune. This is the kind of contribution that gets you noticed and makes your life overall better. Number 2, chunk your work. Instead of trying to maintain consistent vigilance across everything for 8 hours straight, which is neurologically impossible to do, by the way, work in focus blocks. Spend 45 minutes deep in the queue, take a real break when you step away from the screen, and come back fresh. Your brain needs those resets. Number 3, keep a log of the interesting stuff, the things that actually made you think, the investigations that challenged you. Because alert fatigue is partially a motivation problem. And when everything feels routine and meaningless, going back to your wins log reminds you that the work does matter. It keeps you connected to the reason why you're there. Number 4, this is important. Talk to your team. Alert fatigue is a shared problem. If you're feeling it, your colleagues are feeling it too. Creating an environment where your team can openly discuss workload and mental load, and it takes the shame out of it. You're not weak for being overwhelmed. You're human. All right, this is the one that makes people feel uncomfortable because nobody wants to talk about bad leadership. But I'm going to talk about it because I think it's one of the biggest factors inside of a SOC environment. But I'm going to talk about it because I think it's one of the biggest factors in SOC burnout, and it's widely underaddressed. Here's what toxic SOC management can look like. And see if any of this sounds familiar. It's a manager who treats every false positive like a personal failure. It's leadership that measures performance purely by ticket count and close time, as if cybersecurity is a factory floor and you're just running an assembly line. It's a culture where asking questions makes you look incompetent, when you're admitting that being overwhelmed means you're not cut out for it, where the unspoken rule is just keep your head down and grind and don't complain. It's being on call on your days off with no additional compensation or acknowledgement. It's having your personal time consistently disrespected because leadership operates as if the badge that you wear means you gave up the right to those boundaries. It's watching mediocrity get promoted because of politics, while the people actually doing the work is getting overlooked. And here's what that environment does to a person over time. You stop raising flags when things feel off because you're afraid of the reaction. You stop asking for help because when you ask for help, it feels like a sign of weakness. You start internalizing the stress and carrying it home with you mentally, and eventually, check out. Your body's in the chair. Your hands are on the keyboard, but the version of you that actually cared, that person left a long time ago. I want to be honest with you. I've seen brilliant analysts, people who are genuinely gifted at this work, walk out of SOC environments because of toxic leadership. Not because the work was too hard, because the environment was unbearable. And that's a tragedy for the individual and for the industry. So what do you do when management is the problem? First, document everything. I cannot stress this enough. If you're in an environment where you are being treated unfairly, where expectations are unreasonable, where you're being overlooked without any recognition, write it down. Dates, times, what was said, what was asked of you. Not because you're trying to build a legal case necessarily, but because documentation gives you clarity and it gives you options. Second, find your people. Even in a toxic environment, there's usually 1 or 2 people who see it for what it is and are trying to navigate it with their integrity intact. Those are your people. Not to gossip or complain in circles, but to have honest conversations and maintain your perspective. Isolation in a toxic environment is dangerous. Third, know the difference between a bad manager and a bad company. Sometimes the culture comes from the top and is systemic, and no amount of endurance is going to change it. Other times, it's one bad leader and an otherwise decent organization. That distinction matters because it determines your options. One bad manager may be something you can work around or escalate. A broken culture, that's not something you can fix as an individual contributor. Fourth, I mean this, start putting feelers out. You don't have to stay. Well, that sounds obvious, but you're in the middle of it. When you're exhausted and beaten down, it can just feel like that's just what work is. It's not everywhere. There are SOC environments with strong mentorship, reasonable workloads, leadership that actually invests in their people. They exist. start looking. Even if you're not ready to leave yet. Knowing that options exist does something powerful to your psychology. It shifts you from feeling trapped to feeling like you have agency. And that shift can get you through when you're trying to determine your next move. I want to take a second here and just talk to you, not as a content creator, not as a cybersecurity professional, just as somebody that's been in the industry and watch it chew people up. Burnout in this field is real and it's serious. And the culture of just push through, that exists in a lot of security teams. And it's genuinely harmful because the message that it sends is your mental health is less important than uptime. Your well-being matters less than the SLA. On ticket closure, that's just wrong. Burnout is not a personal failure. It's not a sign that you're not cut out for this. It's a psychological response to chronic stress without adequate recovery. That's it. That's the whole thing. Your brain and your body hit a wall, and they're telling you that something has to change. The dangerous part is when you ignore these signals, because burnout doesn't stay contained. It spills into your relationships. It affects your physical health. It can lead to anxiety and depression, in some extreme cases, much darker places. And when it gets to that point, it's not just a career problem anymore. So I want you to actually take inventory of everything right now. Ask yourself, honestly, am I just tired or am I burnt out? Being tired means you need to rest. Being burnt out means you need to change. Here's how to tell the difference. When you're just tired, a good weekend or a vacation resets you. When you're burnt out, you come back from a vacation within a day or two, you feel exactly the same way before you left. Being tired means you still care about the work, even when you're exhausted. Burnout means the work feels meaningless, pointless. Like it doesn't matter what you do because it's never enough. If the second description sounds familiar, please take that seriously. Talk to someone, therapist, if you have access to one. And I know it's not easy, but if your company has an EAP or an employee assistance program, use it. What it's there for. Talk to somebody you trust. Talk to your doctor. Get it out of your head and out in open where it can actually be addressed. And make a plan, not a vague, I need to do something plan, an actual plan. Whether that's looking for a new role, having a hard conversation with your manager, taking a leave of absence, pivoting within the organization to a different team, something concrete that moves you towards a different situation. Because hoping it gets better without changing anything is not a strategy. 4. Set your boundaries around your off time. Your phone doesn't have to be on after work hours, unless you're being on call or you're being compensated for it. Your work email doesn't have to be on your personal phone. You are allowed to be unreachable. You are allowed to have hours in your day that belong entirely to you. Guard those hours like you guard your network. Seriously. 5. Talk about this stuff to your colleagues, to your manager, if they're the person who can hear it, to people online, to me. Drop it in the comments. The more we normalize the conversation around mental health and cybersecurity, the easier it becomes for the next person to say something before they hit rock bottom. Okay, so I don't just want to end this on the heavy stuff because this isn't a doom and gloom video. This is a real talk video, and real talk includes the path going forward. So let me give you the things that actually work, the things that I've seen help people and that I've personally learned. 1. Get a life outside of security. I'm serious. Have something that has nothing to do with the industry, a hobby, sport, a creative outlet, something that gives your brain a completely different job to do. When your identity is directly tied to your job and your job becomes a source of stress, you have nowhere to put yourself. Build something outside of it. 2. Invest in your career development on your own terms. One of the things that kills me is people in the SOC feeling stagnant, like you're just spinning your wheels. So take control of that. Because specialization that actually excites you. Threat hunting, cloud security, digital forensics, malware analysis, whatever pulls you, and start building towards it. Not because your company asks you to do it, but because you want to. That sense of forward motion matters enormously for your mental health. 3. Find community. This industry has incredible communities. If you know where to look, Score servers, DEF CON chapters, B-Sides conferences, Afrotech, online forums. Find your people who speak the language, who get the jokes, who understand when you say your sim had a rough night. That connection is grounded in a way that's hard to explain until you experience it. 4. Set real boundaries outside on your off time. Your phone literally doesn't have to be on unless you're on call at it. Look, if you're in the SOC right now and you're running on fumes, I need you to hear this. You are not the problem. The problem is an industry that has not yet figured out how to properly take care of the people doing some of the most critical, high stakes, mentally demanding work in tech. But you still have to advocate for yourself, know your limits. And knowing that burning yourself down to the ground doesn't make you a better security professional, just makes you a broken one. You got into this field for a reason. Don't let a bad environment take that away from you. If this video hit home, I want you to do 3 things. Drop a comment and tell me, you feeling burnt out right now? Second, share this with somebody on your team who needs to hear this, because they may not be saying it out loud, but they feeling it. Third, subscribe if you're not already, because this is the kind of content building here down at Hold It Down J Network. Real cybersecurity, real careers, real talk. See y'all next Sunday at 12 p.m. Peace.